Hello, loved ones. Thank you for joining us today. And if you're new to the channel, then welcome to the family. Today, we will be reviewing Married at First Sight Season 14 Reunion Part 2. So let's jump right to it.
Welcome to Fueled by Intentions, where we talk about faith, family, finances, fitness, and fun. Sponsored by Bynum's Business Solutions, where the right fit is made simple. We specialize in tips, tools, and strategies designed to help you achieve your financial health so that you can take control of how you spend your money so that you can spend more time with your family, friends, and doing the things you love. So let's jump right into the video.
Hello, John. How are you doing today?
I am doing well, Evawani. How are you?
I am doing awesome. I cannot believe that we are at Married at First Sight Season 14 Reunion Part 2. This has been a very long season, and now we get to all wrap it up with a bow on how this season panned out. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's good. I mean, now we know who's with who, who's not with whom, and now we get to comment on it, and we could make judgments or evaluation on who we thought would work and who we thought would not work out.
This episode started out with a girl chat, which all the ladies met with Kevin to just chit chat about the season. What was really interesting to me was the Lindsey and Alyssa dynamics. And we see that started out on the first day. And my thing is that I have no idea of who to believe, because Alyssa and Lindsey, their version of what happened is totally different. Alyssa says that it's because Lindsey was talking about her on the first day, so she unfollowed her and blocked her on social media, where Lindsey says it was because Lindsey kind of called her out about not having any faults, and then that just carried on in the season. The one thing that was an identifier to me is Jasmina and Katina validating that Alyssa doesn't say anything about Lindsey, but Lindsey says things about Alyssa. Then the whole thing about Alyssa contacting Mark on social media, and I'm glad they clarified that, because we have seen some scandals in the past where, mates kind of interact, but they sound like, hey, we all talks to everybody's husband. And I love when either Katina or Jasmina, I think it was Katina, when she said, I've seen the messages and they're really innocent. So I really am glad, because I don't like when people on the same season kind of intermingle, because I don't think that is kosher.
When I think about Alyssa and Lindsey in terms of the talk going back and forth, I look at that person's character based on what I viewed during the show. And in the early portions, I just felt that Lindsey always commented on anyone. It didn't matter. It wasn't just Alyssa. She commented on everybody's relationship, even her own. So I think Lindsey was very talkative, and I didn't think that she was a person to hold her tongue, and she was very opinionated. And if she had an opinion of someone, she didn't mind voicing it. So I can see how that would have rubbed Alyssa the wrong way.
The other thing that was really shocking to me is the whole conversation about the eagle versus the lion tattoo. And I was surprised to see how close Lindsey and Noy were as friends, because I did not see that dynamic of a relationship. And I like how Noy kind of stood up for Lindsey, and she said, I believe Lindsey, I believe she heard it, that it was a lion, and I believe Alyssa that it was an eagle. I feel like she just took the diplomatic role and just left it there on the table to forge a relationship of peace in terms of that particular situation.
Yes.
Yeah. The last thing, I was surprised that Kevin said that Katina and Olajuwon's journey was a beautiful journey, and that we should just smile about their relationship. Now, I think that they could have a beautiful marriage. I don't think it was a beautiful journey. I think the journey was hard and it was a lot of work, which is indicative of marriage and a lot of marriages. But I feel like that was a revision of the scenes that we saw play out. I don't think it was a beautiful journey. So the fact that he used those words to describe that relationship, I don't know, kind of caught me off guard.
You know, he had the couples present, and when he makes comments like that, and it reminds me of going to a funeral. You don't say bad things about the person that's deceased.
Very, very true. Very true. The next thing we see is the guy chat, where the guys have an opportunity to talk with Kevin. And the conversation that stood out the most was Mark talking about how he had been bullied by Lindsey. I never really had heard him frame it that way. And I really believe that people should fight for their marriage. But when he said that sometimes he was frightened when he had conversations with her, and that I think this is when he revealed that she spat on him. I just thought, wow, you know what? It's really good that, he got out of the situation, especially you don't want to be, even though it's a guy, a lot of people, we think that guys should just stay in it because no, if you're frightened in a relationship because of conversations that you're having with someone, then that's just not a healthy relationship and you should remove yourself from the situation. So I was really glad that he did remove himself, but I was really glad that the guys were there to kind of back him up and support him through it.
Yeah, I think he felt mentally abused. And, we talk about abuse, we talk about male abuse, in terms of female abuse. And you have mental, psychological abuse as well as physical abuse. So I feel that, he felt that he was being attacked often, and it was uncalled for, and he tried to defend himself. And since this relationship was one of a roller coaster, I guess it was more downs than ups, and he said, hey, it's time to get out.
Yes, it was interesting that Olajuwon said that Lindsey has no accountability, easy to point the finger, and does not look at herself. And I was thinking, I don't know if that was the right person to point that out about Lindsey, because some of those things I feel about Olajuwon. So I kind of thought the pot calling the kettle. But, it sounds like he is trying to make some strides and change within the relationship. So I'll just have to give him that and leave it there.
I would have loved if, while Olajuwon was commenting on Lindsey, if they would have put his face on her head. I mean, his face on her shoulders. So it would have been, he was talking to himself. I think that would have been a better way of summarizing how they both did not take accountability of their actions.
Yes, and Chris was just his old diplomatic self. When they asked him, was Alyssa a good person? He just gave the diplomatic answer, which is indicative of him, that she was placed in a difficult situation and may not have handled it as well as she could have. And then they talked about Katina's cooking and how much better she has gotten at cooking and how she is making gourmet meals now. So I thought that was a really good milestone, because she did say that she was going to try to meet his expectations. And I feel like once you both try to make that medium, that it's easier for you to, try to meet the expectations of the other when you try to find a common ground. And I think that's what they are doing in their relationship.
You know what? I think with Katina, when they talked about her cooking and everything, she didn't say that she couldn't cook. It says that she didn't do it often. She often ate out. So it's not that she couldn't do it. She didn't do it often. And now that she's married, then she would put more emphasis on cooking and bringing home home-cooked meals. See, Tina is a strong woman. And really, it's always been that she's been shown as a person that's very, very successful, because what she puts her mind to, she does. And this is just another indication of Katina's character. She believes, when asked, can you be a mother? Can you be a student? And can you also be a wife? And she says, yes, I multitask. I can do anything that I put my mind to. And this cooking is just one example.
Next, we see the experts, and they were so shocked at the Alyssa Chris situation. And it really did bring back that they really never had a conversation about it, because the only people who talked to Chris and Alyssa was Pastor Cal. So it was really interesting to see the dynamic and hear their conversation. And I love that Dr. Pepper clarified her and her husband not living together, and how that did not translate to Noah and Steve's relationship, because they were just at a different spot and they really did need to be there. One thing that I wish they would have talked about in that same conversation is that if Jasmina and Michael had moved in together, that may have helped their relationship, because the same thing that they were saying that Noah and Steve needed in order to live together, I think that would have helped both Jasmina and Michael if they had moved in together. So I was really interested. I was really surprised that they didn't make the correlation between the two couples.
And nor did Jasmina, when she says, okay, we're willing to work on it, let's work this out. And one of the very first things that we're going to do is, after the cameras are gone and stuff like that, Michael and I are going to move in with each other and give this a go and see if we can really coexist as married couples. But no, the fact that they lived in separate locations just added more stress to the relationship, because they were trying to see if they could become closer to each other. But I don't think that you move further away to become closer. So no, I think it was still doomed to fail because of that.
Yes.
And I really would like to add to that when I look at the Jasmina and Michael relationship, I compare that to the Chris and Alyssa relationship. And I look at it from the standpoint that with Alyssa, her problem with Chris was his looks. She didn't like his looks, and that killed their relationship. Well, with Jasmina and Michael, what started off early in the relationship was tone. She didn't like the way that Michael spoke to her. And it ended up being tone that killed their relationship. And even though Jasmina said that, that when they had a month out or a month left in the relationship, that they were just going to put all that bad stuff behind them and work forward toward the decision day, I don't think she actually did. I think that we saw that Michael became vulnerable in his relationship, and we saw some beautiful things, a beautiful chemistry that started developing between him and Jasmina, okay, in terms of being cordial and playing together and laughter and coming to, it seems like that they were getting close. But Jasmina never became vulnerable to Michael. And I think the fact that she never became vulnerable to Michael, she always kept her guards up, is what prevented that relationship from progressing on her side. And because of that, I think that's why that relationship was doomed.
I really liked when the experts talked to Jasmina and Michael, that we finally got to hear the demise of their relationship, which was sad because it was over a situation of her not being able to borrow his computer after he said he'll lend it to her, and him not knowing that he had made that promise to her. And I was so sad because I feel like a lot of marriages end like this, and disagreements that you could overcome. And I like that the experts really did drive that point home, that you guys are treating this like a relationship, or what you guys are people experience in marriage. And I did feel kind of sorry for Jasmina, because I feel like from a woman's perspective, if you reach out to a guy every day for 10 days and you don't get any reciprocation, I think that you can feel not loved and unvalued. You don't want to be the person. It has to be a give and take. You can't be the only person. And I was so surprised to hear that Michael is the one who called it off.
You know what I find funny about this is, like I said, that comparison, the comparisons that we can make between Alyssa and Chris relationship, we can make the same thing between uh, Michael and Jasmina's relationship. And just like when when the experts would talk to Alyssa about, okay, what, give me some of the qualities that you don't like about Chris. And she couldn't come up with an answer, or she just came up with something that was ridiculous. I see the same thing when I look at Jasmina and we talk about this computer. Okay. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's kind of like anything will do when you weren't really into the relationship anyway. So that's why I don't buy that excuse. The relationship was doomed, and it had nothing to do with the computer. The relationship was doomed before, when she said Michael had talked to her initially in a provocative manner, and she couldn't handle that, and she didn't want to be with a man that did that to her. And that had started way back in the beginning. And that issue we thought was resolved, but in her mind, it was never resolved, and it could not be resolved. And that's why this relationship failed.
Next, we moved on to Alyssa and Chris. And Alyssa finally got to face the experts. It was really awkward when Alyssa walked in. Everybody else kind of greeted the experts and kind of hugged them, but she was kind of like, which way do I go? I need to sit down in a hurry. And she faced up to the experts. I thought she, tried to hold her own, but I thought that the experts really tried to get down to the heart of the matter by asking her what she didn't get. And Dr. Vivianna told us her top 5, and her top 5 was compassionate, funny, giving, hardworking, and loyal. And as Dr. Vivianna said that, you can see Alyssa sitting there rolling her eyes. And then when she said that she didn't feel like Chris was loyal, you saw the experts rolling their eyes. And I think that's why Alyssa was like, I'm feeling attacked, and you guys said that I wouldn't be attacked, because I think she saw that all 3 of them was really like taken aback from that. But to Alyssa's point, I think she probably did see Chris as not loyal, because I think that sometimes when people have their own way of thinking, they feel like people should tie ranks. And I feel like she thinks that Chris should have did like she did and pretended like everything was okay, because we see over and over again that when she was asked about an activity or something that she did, that she changed the narrative. And I feel like some people believe that we should be, she didn't want him to talk about anything, even when they were with the couples, and she felt betrayed at that moment because he was sharing the truth about their relationship. So I think that in her mind, she did feel like that was disloyalty, although they had not built a bond to be loyal to each other, and their definition of loyalty is different. His is that he was living in the truth of the matter, and hers is that she wanted to exude a false narrative, but she wanted to do it in conjunction with him.
And I just don't think that you should have a confederacy with a lie. I think that, the truth is what makes the relationship work. The truth is what's going to bring beauty to the relationship. And I think that false narrative, for a person to be compliant with the false narrative, it's just going to end in destruction. And Chris wanted, their relationship to succeed. So he just was not going to participate in a lie. And I applaud him for that.
Yes, I love when Dr. Pepper, when she said, I've been shown in a light, and Dr. Pepper said, you've been shown in a light. We have not put any words in your mouth. And, I agree with that. And Alyssa's point is that she is a good person. And I am going to hold judgment as to whether Alyssa is a good person or not, to wait and see how she is in this upcoming episode when she's getting something different, which is, looks like her and Ryan may be dating. Now, I don't think that Alyssa treated Chris, I don't think she treated him right at all. But I think that that was me seeing her in one note, in one light. Everything about it was her disdain with Chris and her feelings towards this situation. So maybe I just caught her at a bad, rare moment in terms of this one subject. So I can't wait to see if we get to see something different about her personality in this next relationship to determine whether she is a good person and she just had a bad encounter that we got to experience in Living Color.
You know what? I think people can be put in difficult situations, but their character usually shows through. And I think we had a glimpse of Alyssa's character. And I think that in her future relationship, when we look at it, and I am going to be paying close attention as well to it, that I think that these character flaws that we saw in Chris, they're going to materialize in her new relationship, maybe in a slightly different way, but you'll be able to recognize that yes, they were the same character flaws that she had in the Chris relationship, but they're going to be magnified in his new relationship when she actually, hopefully, gets what she wants in terms of the looks of the guy that she wants to go out with.
Yes, and honestly, I feel like we all can experience this in our own life, because there are some times when that guy or that girl likes you and you don't really like them back. But how do you treat them? You know, have you ever dated or went out with someone who you didn't like but liked you, and then you wanted to get to know them or experience it, or they asked you on a date and then you wanted to be kind and say not yes? You know, I feel like Alyssa should have treated Chris with decency and respect, just like we would treat someone, I hope, who you have dated or somebody asked you out that you didn't really care for, but that you gave them a try, or you may have ended up friends. So if you've had that experience where you've had to date someone who liked you, who maybe you didn't like, put it in the comments. Let us know how that turned out, and how did you treat the person in that same situation? And were you like Alyssa, or did you treat the person with decency and respect? And how did the relationship turn out? Sometimes they turn out to be beautiful friendships, even though it's not a relationship. And sometimes it turns out to be a romantic relationship, because you may not like the appearance of the person, but the heart can shine through, and that person can just look outstanding when you really, really get to know someone. So let us know in the comments section if that's ever happened to you. The last thing that we see is final words, where all 5 couples sit down with Kevin to kind of round up the season. And we see that Olajuwon did not know Katina's name. Not only did he not know it, but Jeanette is such a long way off from Katina. When he was with her mom, he called her Katrina or something like that, and the mom corrected him. But I am going to give him a little slack, since they had just married at first sight.
Well, I think too, I mean, when I first am introduced to a person, I know that sometimes they tell me their name and I give them my name, and it goes right over my head, okay? And usually what I have to do is I have to ask them again and relate that name to somebody that I know. So when I see that person, I say, oh yeah, this is, because I relate it to somebody I know. But yes, sometimes when you're first meeting a person, it's easy to forget their name.
Yes. And also, they all did say that not only does Olajuwon have a hard time remembering Katina's name, but he just has a hard time in remembering names in general. So I think I'm going to give Olajuwon a little slack in that regard. They then rounded out the season by showing the clip of Lindsey going after Mark in the bowling alley, where she just ripped him a new one. And honestly, Lindsey always talks about Alyssa. Alyssa is not a good person. Alyssa is not a good person. And she always relates it to how Alyssa treats Chris. But Lindsey treats Mark the same way. Again, I think it's the pot calling the kettle black, because I feel like the things that Lindsey said about Mark were worse than what Alyssa said about Chris. Because Alyssa is just talking about stuff. She doesn't even know the man. She only knows he's a realtor. So he's just talking about the basis of her job. But the things that Lindsey said about Mark was things that she had experienced and they had encountered together. So I felt like the blows that Lindsey had against Mark were even more detrimental than Alyssa had for Chris. Not that either one of them is right, but I don't think that Lindsey had any room to talk. I do think that she was trying to take accountability, where she said that I did feel bad about what I said, but then Mark said, well, you do you feel bad? And she said, well, I said I do. And he said that he didn't think she meant it. I think that was just like Jasmina and Michael's first argument, when Michael wanted Jasmina to apologize in a certain way. But I think that Lindsey was just tired by that time. She had been beat up by the girls. She had been tore down by the experts, and now she's back in the group. I felt sorry for her at this point, but I am glad that she took the advice of Olajuwon, of all people, and went ahead and apologized to Mark. And I'm still unclear of if she spat on him purposely or if she was talking and spit just came out of her mouth accidentally, because some people do spit when they talk when they're just in a hyper state. But I don't know. But I'm glad she did apologize, and I think that they wish the best for all of them. I think they all have some room to grow.
Yes, I agree.
That rounds out this season of Married at First Sight. What are your final thoughts on this season?
Well, we have two couples right now that are still together. That's Olajuwon and Katina, and Noe and Steve. Will that relationship stand the test of time?
Well, we don't have to wait for long. Is Ryan dating Alyssa, and he's from another season? And what about Chris and Olivia? Are they the perfect match? What is Olajuwon and Katina fighting about now? Did you see that? And what kind of amends will Jasmina and Michael need to make? And did you know there needed to be this wrap-up conversation with Lindsey and Steve? Well, let's see all the action in the next video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, live with intention. Be intentional.